Yo vengo de Venezuela y llegué acá hace 2 meses.
New York, a city of immigrants. This hotel, which closed in 2020, has now become a shelter for immigrants who have crossed the border into the United States and are seeking asylum.
Actualmente Venezuela está viviendo una crisis muy dura por el gobierno que tiene, pues lo digo por el gobierno que tiene porque yo era profesora de una universidad y me tocó renunciar a mi cargo por no tener la misma opinión política.
There is no end to the number of asylum seekers who risk their lives to escape human rights violations and poverty in their home countries, such as Venezuela and its ongoing socialist dictatorship.
En la región de Darién, en Panamá.
Sí, entré por la selva.
Vilma also risked her life to come here, crossing the jungle at the border of Colombia and Panama.
La selva, duré una semana dentro de la selva y pues sí fue duro, se ven muchas cosas, se ven muertos, se ve violaciones. Estoy muy contenta, así ahorita esté un poco muy mal porque no estoy trabajando, pero estoy muy contenta porque creo que este es un país de oportunidades.
The world is grappling with the issue of migration. In 2023, the number of people seeking asylum reached a record high. The number of people fleeing from authoritarian countries to democratic ones is increasing. And the flow of people from Central and South America to the United States is particularly prominent. Many of them try to illegally cross the Mexico-US border. When the Biden administration came into office in 2021, the strict border controls of the Trump administration were lifted, and the number of illegal border crossings from Mexico increased sharply. At one point in New York, there were more migrants than expected, and shelters were in short supply.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Donald Trump has repeatedly made discriminatory statements. Immigration has also become a major issue in the U.S. presidential election taking place on November 5th.
And together, CHC, we must also reform our broken immigration system.
And our Hispanic population who are losing their jobs.
The key is the Hispanic population living in the U.S. With their roots in Latin America, they tend to support the Democratic Party, which is more open to immigration. However, comparing the 2016 presidential election with the 2020 election, the percentage of Hispanics who voted for Trump increased by 10 percentage points. In a September poll by the New York Times, Kamala Harris had 51% of the Hispanic vote, while Trump had 39%. The white proportion of the U.S. population is declining, while the Hispanic share is increasing. They are becoming less of a minority, and their votes influence the presidential election. Texas, in the southern U.S., is home to many Hispanic residents. NIKKEI spoke with Hispanic residents who support Trump. Juan Vega runs a salon in the area. His father is from Mexico, making him a second-generation immigrant. In 2016, Vega switched from supporting the Democrats to the Republicans.
It's not that my vote for Donald Trump is because he's for the American people. He's for the working people. We were born and raised Democrats. And Democrats are for the poor and the Republicans are for the rich. That's what we were taught, growing up. But one has leaned so far, I guess, left.
When he visited New York for work, Vega questioned the generous treatment of those who crossed the border illegally.
And we would stay in one of the hotels that they were staying at, that we paid a lot of money. And they were staying there for free, and they trashed it.
By your tax.
Yes. Yeah, we're paying for all that. I don't want to share my money because I work so hard for what I have. A lot of them, yes, they might be here for the American dream to work and all that. But not all of them are like that.
J.P. Rodriguez, a second-generation immigrant, is a friend of Vega's and a former sheriff who was in charge of border security. Like Vega, he also switched from supporting the Democrats to the Republicans.
I worked specifically on a drug task force for 2 years. And on this task force, we worked cases against drug trafficking organizations, human trafficking organizations. So I got to see firsthand the real problems along our U.S.-Mexico border. Some of the saddest cases I saw at the sheriff's office was children getting smuggled and then just left in the middle of nowhere to fend for themselves. And we worked many cases where those children would die. And that really bothers me that someone would say that our borders, that there's no problems with our border when you have children getting dropped off. That's one issue.
As Vice President Harris was placed in charge of border control in the Biden administration, Rodriguez is critical of Harris for neglecting the border issue.
Vote to Mr. Trump?
Yes. I will absolutely vote for Trump. I'm not against people coming to make a better life for themselves and their families. I believe in the American dream because I've lived it. And I think that everyone, even an immigrant, should have the opportunity to live the American dream. But it has to be done the right way. And everyone has to be vetted.
Such dissatisfaction with the Democratic administration is leading Hispanics to support Trump. Many of those illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border are refugees or asylum seekers. But some are criminals involved in illegal activities such as drug trafficking. Others come with the intention of working illegally in the U.S. They cross the border in secret so they will remain undiscovered. The main issue with border control currently is that even if refugees or asylum seekers enter the country illegally and are detained, they can tell the border guards that they are seeking asylum, and the guards are obligated to protect them. This is what is causing the illegal crossings in the first place. As a result, there are so many applying for asylum that the processing system cannot keep up, leading to disorder and confusion. During this time, asylum seekers will obtain work permits and work while waiting for their verdict. They often have to wait for years. Another factor that seems to exacerbate the issue is those who continue to stay in the U.S. illegally, even after their asylum applications have been rejected. There is a concern that many will find employment while waiting for this decision, thus becoming fully integrated into society. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that the U.S. population will stay roughly flat until the year 2100 by taking in immigrants. If immigration totally stopped, the population would decrease significantly. Immigrants support the aging U.S. population, which faces a declining birth rate. Trump claims that if more immigrants come in, they will take jobs away from U.S. workers.
Immigrants create many more jobs than they quote-unquote take. What we found that immigrants are disproportionately likely to become founders of new firms. It's not quite twice as much as the US born, but it's close to twice as much, like roughly 80% more.
Duolingo is the most widely used language learning app in the world. Luis Von An, the CEO, is an immigrant from Guatemala.
A lot of the people that are the hardest working, the most risk-taking, they are immigrants because it takes so much effort to leave your entire family behind, your parents. I think the entrepreneurship comes from the fact that these people are self-starters, they're risk-takers, etc., and that's why it really is. I don't know the exact fraction, but if you look at founders of multi-billion-dollar companies, their immigrants are overly represented. Oh, it's because he was like actually. The main reason why I wanted to work on education, why I wanted to work on Duolingo, was because I always saw education as something that created inequality. I had the chance to get a good education, and therefore now I am very, very rich, whereas people who didn't have a chance to get that good of an education probably couldn't even get a job. Guatemala is a poor country by almost every measure. The low literacy rates, a lot of people under the line of poverty. It's generally a lot of childhood mortality. The problem with my home country is that there is very little opportunity for social mobility. If you were born poor, most likely you will remain poor. I sometimes come across some people that have crossed illegally. The common thing they'll say is, I'd rather be in jail in the United States than free in Guatemala.
Reynosa, Mexico is a border town located next to Texas. Asylum seekers from Central and South America who hope to get to the U.S. gather at this shelter. They have gone through harrowing experiences to get this far. NIKKEI spoke with Sister Edith Garrido, who runs this shelter.
Uno de los problemas más fuertes que tenemos ahora son todas las personas que vienen ya con su cita para pasar a Estados Unidos y son interceptados por la maña, por los cárteles, y los secuestran. Y entonces ellos que venían a pasar a Estados Unidos legalmente han perdido su cita. Entonces ellos llegan aquí pues desesperados, además de haber pagado el rescate y además de haber sido torturados, llegan desesperados porque ya no pueden entrar a Estados Unidos. Y nos los están poniendo muy difíciles para que podamos hacer trámite de que puedan pasar, ¿verdad?
In June, President Joe Biden issued an executive order to restrict entry into the U.S. if the number of illegal border crossings exceeded a set number.
Y es un poco de política en el sentido de que dicen que no necesitan migrantes, pero sí necesitan migrantes. Gritan que se vayan, pero los están contratando a todos, ¿sí? Llegan inmediatamente, llegan a las comunidades, a las ciudades, a los trabajos, inmediatamente los contratan. ¿Por qué? Porque necesitan la mano de obra de los migrantes, ¿verdad? O sea, es un grito muy extraño porque no los quieren, pero los aceptan, ¿verdad?
The feelings of Hispanics who previously crossed the border are complex in the face of the current wave of asylum seekers.
I know that immigration is a very difficult subject for any president, in any Democrat or Republican. That's the way I feel about it. It is very hard.
Zoila runs a real estate company near Las Vegas. She crossed the border illegally 40 years ago. She is a Republican supporter, but strongly dislikes Trump, and says she will vote for Harris.
He just says, let's kick them all out. We know that's not possible. There's no way you can kick everybody out. Or that he's going to put walls, which it's also not possible. I mean, if you all come in an orderly way, I'm not saying close the border to anybody. I'm just saying a little bit slow, more orderly.
The United States is not for everybody, believe me, okay?
Aurora works at a company in Texas that is related to the construction industry. She says a person needs to be prepared to live in the U.S.
First of all, we have to establish that, if you want to come to this country, it's because you want to work hard, you want to educate yourself, and, and prosper in this country. And it's part of migration. Probably you're going to start with a job that is not going to be your dream job, okay? I cleaned houses when I moved here. I did clean houses. I was going to school. I was a nanny. When you move to a new place, you have to kind of start over.
Andrea is Aurora's daughter. Starting this fall, she will attend the prestigious medical school at the University of Texas.
She wants to be a doctor. I mean, if you work hard, you can do very well. So that's what I've been teaching my kids.
Yeah, and that's a good thing about, I guess, the U.S. It doesn't matter necessarily because here, there's always an opportunity to make it, but that's up to you.
Which is why we've seen her visits to Houston, Dallas, for example. And we also know that Harris has been attending fundraisers while she's in Texas. This is what we're going to be expecting for.
No, we don't like. She's going to vote for the first time and she's going to vote for Trump too. Bueno, no sé.